Hi, I'm Beth Swedeen, Executive Director for the Wisconsin Board for People with Developmental Disabilities. Many of you know us as BPDD, and I'm here to kick off our 50-year celebration of advocacy and change in Wisconsin's disability community. 50 years ago, most people hadn't heard the term lived experience, but Congress was ahead of the times and had a unique vision for every state. A council appointed by each state's governor, made up of people living with developmental disabilities or who had a family member with disabilities. Together, they would be the eyes and ears for the state with lived experience on what needed to happen so people with developmental disabilities could be full, participating, contributing members of their communities and make safe, informed choices about their lives. BPDD and all developmental disabilities councils are unique as state agencies. We don't have to accept what is. We can envision what should and can be. We can take ideas from board members and work together to bring them to life as programs, service improvements, and even state laws. We can invest our funding from the federal government to make every corner of our state a more welcoming and supportive place for people with developmental disabilities. And what's the secret of our success after 50 years? It's you. It's your lived experiences and the amazing talents and energy you bring to our shared mission of making sure every person living with developmental disabilities in Wisconsin has the life they want.
This is extremely important in terms of the 50th anniversary of the Council to acknowledge the environment in which this all took place beginning back in the 1960s. Back then, there wasn't a lot in terms of community services, very little. It was very institution-oriented. We had the 3 state centers. We were probably the first state to develop comprehensive community service legislation. The mandate, as we saw it, was to move the system forward to be a change agent. We had the authority to go anywhere and everywhere if it affected the life of a person with a developmental disability. And that was magical. It was unique. It really was unique. And I think to this day, perhaps still is unique.
The DD Council plays such an important role. It is a place where families can come, where they can feel that they have advocates, that people understand what they're going through. The council has some power. It's part of government and yet isn't part of government. It's allowed advocacy. That is so unique. That was so incredible and so powerful because not only did you have access to the information that was in the department, but you had the ability to say, this isn't right. This is not enough money. This waiting list shouldn't exist. These people have rights.
The other thing that the councils did was they were able to work with people with disabilities and their families, so they didn't necessarily have to rely on somebody who worked in the system to help them push through. But they could start identifying what was it they wanted to see that would be different, and how could they make themselves heard. And so we did a lot of work with bringing people together, learning about how to advocate, learning about how to make your case clearly, succinctly, and learning about basically how to, look a legislator or a teacher or whoever it is in the eye and say, here's what I want. I have a right. Listen to me.
BPDD has always shown to me that whatever's going on in the system and in the environment, BPDD is going to be willing to consider a new way of influencing things if that will have a bigger impact than the other things they've tried in the past.
Some of the most important things, of course, were the development of the Medicaid waiver program, which was in the early 1980s, and the state did not have money to implement that. That's when Medicaid money became available to fund community supports and to bring people out of institutions using the Medicaid funds. We funded the first 4 people in the state. So we would start things, and if they were effective, the state would then eventually, different agencies would pick them up and start funding them on their own.
With 3 years' worth of money, we were able to establish a statewide birth to 3 system. Because of the parent advocacy, the legislature did pass a law that said birth to 3 is an entitlement. It was wonderful, but the governor said he was going to veto it. One of the parents, who had been very active, called every day to the governor's office and asked him to please sign the legislation. The secretary of the governor told her a secret, which no one else knew, which is for the first time, the governor was going to have an open house. He was going to actually have his door open, and you can imagine what happens when there's a hallway full of families with young children. There was crying everywhere. There was crying and families soothing their kids, and the governor couldn't help but hear the noise. And so his people came out and said to us, we'll listen to 3 or 4 families only. So we picked the families, they went in, they talked to him, and the next day in the press was all over the place that the governor's hallway was full of families. He signed the legislation.
I don't think there'd be a survival coalition without BPDD. That was a time when funding for people with disabilities and disability services was at risk, and hence the name Survival Coalition. There was some question about the survival of the disability system. Before you know it, we were up and running with a cross-disability statewide coalition for people with disabilities in Wisconsin. And ever since then, BPDD has been an ongoing source of energy and support and funding for Survival Coalition activities. So I would say BPDD has been essential to the survival of the Survival Coalition, which is now one of the longest operating cross-disability coalitions in North America. In Survival Coalition, we realized that we needed to have more of a prominent presence in the Capitol. And we needed to remind elected officials that there's a lot of people with disabilities and a lot of family members of people with disabilities, and that we really are a force to be reckoned with, and that people with disabilities and their families vote. And we decided one dramatic way to do that was to start having one day a year when there was a major turnout of disability advocates in the Capitol. That's been going on for years and years now, and I think it has enhanced the stature of the disability community in the Capitol. There's a lot of things that need to be done to have a successful event like that, and BPDD has been right in the middle of that from the get-go.
After some years of working on the family care program, the managed care program, the department finally applied for a self-directed waiver, which came to be called IRIS. We worked with the department to keep pushing that this system be more self-directed, always have an option for people to make their own choices, whether it was to choose to go outside the system and have their own plan, or whether it was to choose to stay in the system but advocate to say, no, I don't want that particular service. I want it to go like this.
And Save Iris is a grassroots organization that came about several years ago when Wisconsin's self-directed long-term care plan was being eliminated due to one single sentence in a state budget. With the help of the board, with the help of the stakeholders that they brought in and the expertise, we were able to bring in thousands of calls into the Capitol. We did visits, and we were in the Capitol every week for a while there. We were in the Capitol all the time, and we never could have done that without the help from BPDD. They just helped us turn into a force. We went from being just a bunch of people with disabilities and families, and next thing you knew, we were a force to be reckoned with. I mean, we really made an impact. We still can't believe that happened.
We can't believe
It just, and we saved Iris.
People without disabilities have a pretty poor voting record as it is, not all over the country, but in a lot of places. And people with disabilities vote even less than that. So the idea was to try to engage people with disabilities and the people who support them to become better voters. We started the Disability Vote Coalition. And in the years that I was doing that, we were able to increase the number of people voting in the disability community. Councils are here to think imaginatively, to work outside the box, to not just do business as usual, but to engage in bold, new, innovative ideas about how to make life better. Whether it's working with the legislature, with a state agency, with county agencies, with managed care organizations, whoever it might be, with the media. There are always ways to make things better. You just need to have the ideas and the will and the energy, and I think the councils are a big part of how you can get it done.
The DD Council model that the board represents in Wisconsin is so key because of its capacity to put support around curiosity and investigation. Sometimes it was financial resources. Sometimes it was sort of making exceptions to the rules. Sometimes it was, let's get behind this idea and support it and see where we end up.
I am so blessed that the board stepped in to help People First in Wisconsin and to help me. They helped us to get a board of directors. They helped us get the finance we need to keep our doors open. And sometimes I will get, a person coming from a state institution. I think people don't understand that. And now I'm as a director in a workforce and trying to make difference for people with intellectual disabilities. So I'm just so grateful for the board. And, I made myself the person I am. It's because of the BP board. They didn't let me fall too far, and they helped me. And I think they deserve a lot of thanks, so thank you.
Some other states have been doing partners in policy making for years. I've always wanted to see that happen in Wisconsin. I think our program is different from a lot of states because I think we put more emphasis on the legislative advocacy part with messaging and mock hearings and mock meetings with legislators, and then actually preparing people to have meetings with their legislators while the training's still going on. There's almost 300 grads now, and there's just an amazing number of stories of things that people are doing locally and at the state level using the skills they learned from partners.
I was fortunate enough to be in the first class of Partners in Policy Making in Wisconsin. And also I was able to go out to Washington, D.C. and do a little advocating with my senators and House representatives. So yeah, I was in the Wisconsin Task Force on Caregiving, and there were about 30 of us, and we gave the governor 16 different proposals, and he chose 6 of them to be put in his biennial budget. So we felt very fortunate that we got 6 to be put in the state budget.
Very few agencies, very few entities around the state really truly understand what full citizenship means. And the board not only advocates for that, they embody it. The people who work there have people with disabilities in their lives. They just get it. And there's very few places where you can find something like that anywhere in the state. And it's a blessing.
Community inclusion and inclusion at schools, safety, it doesn't all just magically happen. The board is what's made a lot possible for so many people.
BPDD was a great impact on my life because I had a son who's now deceased that had multiple disabilities. And working through the board, I found all the good things that was inclusion for him and access to all services that helped him along his journey in life. BPDD have inspired me to keep my business Parent University open because I've helped so many families who never knew that people really cared about families with kids with disabilities or loved one with disabilities. Now it's open. Everybody is excited. They can go to conferences. They can feel comfortable in public, and they can do things that they never did before because they didn't have to feel like they had to hide. So BPDD has been a big inspiration for me and all those families in Milwaukee that I serve.
If I didn't find out about this board, I wouldn't have been able, and I wouldn't probably have as much speaking opportunities as I do now because I speak on Zoom calls with many different organizations. And I'm with a fellowship with StarTech, and that's through the BPDD board. So if they give me many different avenues to make be an advocate and make the disability community better for people around my area.
Cambiando un poquito más, quiero agradecer al board, al BPD, por todo el apoyo que nos han dado. Me ha permitido crecer, me ha permitido ser miembro del board, me ha permitido mucho conocimiento. Nos ha apoyado inmensamente en todas nuestras actividades que hacemos, no solo económicamente, sino también a través de los grants, sino también nos ha apoyado con información y con apoyo, con asistencia técnica que le llamamos. Son varios grants que combinados con otros nos hacen posible que proveamos los servicios a nuestras familias. También cabe mencionar que sin el staff, el grandioso y fenomenal staff que tiene, el personal que tiene el board, hace posible que esto suceda. Hace posible que son abiertos, tienen mucha inclusión, tienen mucha empatía y tienen mucha competencia cultural para apoyar a nuestras comunidades, en este caso la comunidad latina.
Me being on the board has really impacted me, learning how to speak up, learning how to mentor people, and to really tell my story about a person that living on the spectrum and how I feel and my wants and my needs, and also just contributing to plain language so people also know what they're actually reading. So the board has given me that motivation to be anything I want to and know that the possibilities are endless.
There has been a consistent dedication to self-determination for people with disabilities, and that only gets stronger and stronger over the years. So I congratulate the people working on it now and wish well for the people to come who will keep it going.
I just want to thank you guys for letting me be part of the 50-year celebration, and I can see you guys thriving in the future.
Well, wish the board on 50 years, and I hope it stays around for a long time, and I'm just grateful that it's around.
I want to shout out a big congratulations to BPDD on your 50th anniversary. I hope you have many, many more, because the inspiration that you have put into my life, I want everybody to have a part of BPDD in their life.
So I congratulate the council on what a remarkable achievement.
Happy anniversary to the board, and I wish you well, and I definitely think that more people should be self-advocates, and anybody can do anything they put their mind to.
Congratulations on your 50th anniversary. Thank you so much, BPDD, for all the advocacy that you've done in Wisconsin and for empowering so many people to be advocates.
Yes, and we wish you all the best, and we're looking forward to the next 50 years. We're actually depending on the next 50 years.
Congratulations, BPDD, on 50 years of doing great advocacy. I know you're going to keep on doing it, and I look forward to what's coming next.
Happy anniversary, board.
Well, happy 50th anniversary, BPDD board. You had came a long way. I am so glad that I ran into you and be able to be on the board and various projects that I have done, and partners of policymaking, youth leadership forum, and also partnering with People First Wisconsin and Disability Rights Wisconsin. And I wish you many, many more to come.
Congratulations, BPDD, on your 50th anniversary and helping so many advocates over the last 50 years.
Congratulations to BPDD, all the current staff, former staff, current and former board members. You guys have just done great work for as long as I can remember, and I've certainly enjoyed working with BPDD, and I expect the next 50 years, you guys will keep doing all kinds of great stuff and stirring the pot in the way that you always have. So, good on you.
Y estamos muy felices porque está en su 50 aniversario y le deseamos otros 50 más o 100 y que siga creciendo y haciendo un excelente trabajo.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you for everything.